Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is Nathan with the One Meal Channel. If you are just tuning in for the first time, people from all over the world converge around this time every single day to watch a 20-something-year-old guy living in the Midwestern United States make a massive meal for himself that's large enough to feed a family of 3. And that's my one meal for the day, because I only eat one meal a day, hence the name of the channel. And longtime viewers all agree that the best way to enjoy watching this channel is to do so with a food or beverage of your choice and eat alongside me while I make my food. So with that being said, let's hop into the video. Hi everybody, welcome back. It is day 4 of our 5-day stint before I break off into my part-time job in graveyard shift, where we have a couple of breaks with one another. We're coming up on the 6-month mark where we've been consistently uploading at least 5 days a week, every single week for those entire 6 months. Even when we were out in Japan, eating Japanese food, changing up our video format a little bit because it's a little bit difficult to cook a massive meal for yourself every single day in Japan where you're traveling all the time. I appreciate all of you guys following along. Last I checked, right before filming, we were at 599 subscribers. So I was hoping to say, hey, thank you for helping us hit 600 subscribers. I'll do it anyway. Thank you for helping us hit 600 subscribers. It's not like 599 is going to be our peak. Y'all know that our goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and with the rate that we're going, we're absolutely going to smash that goal. So I'll continue to be consistent, make sure that I'm not doing things that jeopardize that number going up. We'll pump out as many quality videos as we can 5 days a week. And now's your time. If you're watching this for the first time, now's your time. You will never have the opportunity to be in the first 1,000 subscribers of this channel after we hit it. Some days it looks like we'll be right up to the final moment. Looks like we won't hit 1,000 until the end of the year. And other days, it looks like we're going to jump, 100 subscribers in a single week, which is what we did this month. This month has been the most successful month of the channel thus far. Doing over 100 subscribers thus far, and we're only halfway through the month. So, again, it's all because of you. You are helping bring new people to the channel, not only with your likes and your comments and your subscriptions, but I know some of you have actually been sharing these videos with your friends and with your communities. I get reports on, the external sources that people are seeing these videos, and they're clicking on it through Discord, they're clicking on it through Facebook. You are sharing with other people, and again, I just want to say that I appreciate all of that, because I already talked about this yesterday, but again, we're in growth mode. We are trying to grow as many new subscribers as possible. So I think it's just important for me to repeat myself from time to time. This started off as kind of an experiment. I've been cooking one meal a day for myself for about 2 years now. And if you go all the way back to, all right, that's a little bit weird. Leaked on myself here. If you go all the way back to the first video that we uploaded about 6 months ago, you'll notice that the food that I am making right now is very similar to the food that I was making back then. I started out with something that I ate before the rest of my big meal. I had more or less the same ingredients that I'm using right now. Chicken, rice, potatoes, onions, tons of eggs. And the only thing that's different is that I'm not really eating the bacon like I used to, although I'm thinking of starting again. I've more or less eaten this exact same meal for the last 2 years. And it's worked really well for me. I have a doctor that I chat with online, and I do my blood work every 3 to 6 months consistently. And he speaks with other people who eat this way. I didn't do this because he told me to. I just said, hey, this is how I eat. Is that going to be a problem? He said, well, before we jump to conclusions, let's do your blood work. My blood work's been great. He's helped me out with a couple of prescriptions as well, all just for keeping and regulating my diet and health. And it has been a fantastic experience. And so my roommate told me, if you're making this meal every single day, you might as well film yourself every single day. So you don't even need to speak to the camera, which I do now. is that just film yourself, let people know what you're doing, and keep track of it every day that you do it. Now, 6 months later, we are at about 600 subscribers. We're growing at a rate that we've never grown before. This is officially the most successful YouTube channel that I've ever had. And once again, it's all thanks to all of you. I've enjoyed switching away from the rotisserie chicken and getting nice big cuts of chicken breast from the store. But I've also been very open because we have people, when I say people from all over the world, I really do mean that. We have people from Canada, South Africa, and Greece, obviously some people here in America, and I bet there are people in other areas of the world as well who are watching. We've developed quite a community, let's just say a cult following, of people that have discovered me before we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. And I've been open on the fact that the American food supply sucks. America as a country, we have no problem producing a lot of food, and we export a lot of food, like grains, let's just say, overseas. But a lot of the products that we develop and distribute domestically aren't even allowed to be shipped into Europe because we don't meet food quality standards. And I believe, I'm not an expert, I haven't researched a ton of it, but I am conscious about it, and I try to do my best on how to inform my own eating decisions. My impression, my belief, because again, I don't know the facts, is that it has to do with preservatives. Now, the type of preservatives that we put into our food are actually illegal to put into food in some of these other countries, and so we just don't export to them. Unfortunately, that means we, as Americans, consume all of those preservatives. And it's hard to not infer that this low-quality diet and low-quality ingredients leads to a lot of the health complications that Americans are known to have. So there's some obvious health complications, due to like our weight compared to the rest of the world. But there are other complications that are not weight related that we also have. And I'm not going to go into the details of that because there are a lot of people dealing with those challenges right now, and it's not meant to shame any of you. The point is just to talk about the food supply and how we have to take rational decisions in our life in order to eat healthy. I say all of that as a precursor to why I wasn't eating raw chicken breasts at the beginning of when we started this channel. In America, it's really easy for us to find documentaries of the manufacturing process, and that's really what it is, a food chain, like a supply chain, of all of these injections going into the chickens, these chicken farms, and just the massive scale that it takes to produce all of the chickens that is necessary to feed Americans. Like, for example, I don't know how long it takes. I had chickens when I was on a farm as a kid, but I didn't raise them from chicks. So I don't know how long it takes to raise a chicken from being a chick all the way up to, when it's fully laying and fully sized. But I would say it would take probably at least 4 months, right? Maybe like 120 days. Well, if it takes 120 days for a chicken to go from a chick to full size, that means it takes 120 days before companies can sell these chickens onto the market. And if they're able to shorten that time, it would become more profitable, more efficient, and frankly, better for the consumer because it makes things cheaper, right? Don't have to spend as much time feeding the chickens. So it makes products cheaper for us to buy. In America, we have discovered how to inject chickens with growth hormone to make them fully sized in about 47 days, I think. I think that's the number. I could be wrong. You can fact check me. I'm okay with being wrong because I've been wrong before. The point is that I think it takes about half the time. That I'm pretty confident that I'm correct on. And as a result of injecting these chickens with these growth hormones, they're a lot less resilient to infection. They're a lot less resilient to disease, which means that you have to pump them full of antibiotics constantly, which means that the food, the chicken that you're eating, is full of all that crap. It's good for keeping a chicken alive and growing it really fastly, but it doesn't lead to really high quality meat. And what I just bought at the store is what I'm afraid one of those chickens. But it's hard to get away from it, right? What's the alternative? Of course, I could go to a butcher who ethically raises and harvests all of their animals from scratch, but it's also way more expensive. There are also delays when certain food can come out. If they get a surge of new clients, oftentimes they'll show up and the food that they were usually able to provide is now 2 weeks out. Sometimes you even have to special order from them and let them know, hey, I usually consume this much meat on a monthly basis. Can you have a package like this ready for me on a monthly basis? And they'll tell me if they can or cannot supply that. And then they'll attribute a cost to the total amount of meat that comes in. Let me tell you, that the cost of getting your meat, and frankly, even your vegetables, ethically raised and harvested with minimal pesticides, it's about 3 times the cost of getting it at the store. And personally, that's just not a cost that I can justify. I have things in my life that I want to put that money towards. We're not going to discuss the details here because this is just supposed to be about cooking and food. But regardless, the cost associated with the food is just not something that I can justify putting my money towards. So here we are. Now, regardless, getting a rotisserie chicken probably isn't that much healthier, but at least it's cooked all the way through by the time that I get it, and it hasn't been sitting raw in the store for however many days it's been out there. Also, on the flip side, let's be honest, getting raw chicken from the store and cooking it yourself tastes way better. And it has. It tastes way better. And I've really enjoyed that. So, with all that being said, we make adjustments to our diet. And although I eat more or less the same thing every day, it's about 2,000 calories. It's from the comments, contributions, tender loving care of our viewers that help me inform myself on what I should be looking into. We had people from the OMAD community, the 1 meal a day community, come in. Many of them are big, high protein and high fat consumers. And I used to do carnivore for about 3 months. 3 months strictly carnivore, just beef and fat. I had some turkey for Thanksgiving, which is a little change of pace, but nevertheless, it was just all meat. And I really liked that. I was a little overweight at the time, maybe about 20 pounds overweight. And I was able to lose those pounds and get into a consistent diet. I didn't feel like I was hungry, even though I was only eating once or twice a day at the time. But again, I don't know if you've looked at the price of beef at the store. Regardless if it's expensive or not, it costs more than chicken and eggs and beans. So I decided to move away from that as well and incorporate a little bit more carbs into my diet, supplement my calories for rice, beans, like I said, add an onion into my day for the anti-inflammatory properties, the vitamins and minerals that come with that. The potato is always nice. Ever since I was a kid working on a farm, I basically would spend every single evening eating a big piece of protein, usually like a big cut of tuna, because I lived in a coastal area. with some green beans and a potato. And I gotta say, that was fantastic. I also ate breakfast in the morning. The reason why I eat one meal a day is to help stay consistent with making home-cooked food instead of eating food out. And if I do eat food out, I try to make sure that it is not like McDonald's or Arby's or something like that. I try to not eat food that's convenient. I try to eat food that was also made in the kitchen by a bunch of people that care about what they eat. Regardless, I try to eat as much as I can inside of the house. And if I have to do that 3 times a day, and I only get my full caloric intake if I do it 3 times a day, to me, that's 3 times a day that I could, because I work from home, 3 times a day that I might get trapped in like a fire that starts in the morning. Right now, a little bit of a fire, we just call it a fire, it means there's a problem that needs to be addressed immediately, and maybe I don't get to breakfast. And so what happens at lunch? Well, then I go to lunch, am I going to have to take more time during lunch to make sure I get all of the calories that I need? And then what if I eat that and then I get tired? It's just way too complicated for me. And maybe I'm overthinking things. Regardless, the best format that I've been able to find, which helps me with my priorities of eating food at home every day, eating relatively healthy and consistently, is to eat once and eat after work. That way, when I get kind of sluggish and tired after eating, that happens after all the high priority stuff gets done, and I'm still getting all of my calories for the day. The only time that I would change this up is if I was working out at the gym consistently, which, if we get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, and I stop working that graveyard job, I will go back to the gym consistently. Because in my mind, why go to the gym if you're not able to do it consistently? Then I'll probably incorporate a protein shake onto my day, probably incorporate some yogurt for some additional calories like in that shake, as well as the fiber that comes with it. I might even grab some almonds or some peanuts, some nuts that I can eat throughout the day before I even get to the gym. Because working out on an empty stomach for me is just absolutely miserable, and working out right after eating is also equally miserable. So just keeping myself satiated throughout the day is important. And if you're working out, you're obviously burning more calories than usual, so I need to eat more than this. My meals have consistently been at least 2.5 pounds every single day. And I can eat all of that food in one sitting, usually without any problem. But if I get to the 3-pound mark, or God forbid, the 3.5 or the 4-pound mark, that's when we start running into some pretty major challenges. And then I'll have even issues sleeping after that. And that is the amount of food that I'm going to have to eat if I'm going to the gym. So, better to add a few snacks in here or there if you're gym going. Some people I know, they go to the gym, they're bigger, they're taller, they got more muscle mass than me. You know, I weigh about 175. They weigh about 225, and they're jacked. They look great. They have to eat like 3,000 calories a day, sometimes more, in order to keep their gains. And they'll eat all of that in one day. Excuse me, in one meal. It's actually quite impressive. I can't do that. So for you long-time viewers that have heard me kind of repeat the things I'm saying now maybe a dozen times, the point that I'm getting at, the overarching theme of all of my comments, is that you got to be willing to test things. Find your parameters, right? Find the area that you want to operate in. For me, I've made it 1 meal a day, certain types of foods, certain time of day that I'm making that food, certain caloric intake, all the factors that are consistent every single day, and then adjust one thing and test it. It's in small parts of doing that this YouTube channel has grown the way that it has. I mean, there are people out with 1 million subscribers out there, so I feel weird saying that this channel has been successful, only sitting at 600, but frankly it has. Frankly, it has been successful. It's been wildly successful. It's hard to attract people who want to watch somebody make the same meal every single day and watch it the whole time without any major editing. Well, I just poured most of my beans out. But we've attracted this many people, and many of you will return. It also attract a lot of new viewers. It's because I'm constantly testing what works and what doesn't. What is it in my intro that gets people to come back? What type of foods am I making? What type of adjustments am I making that work for others? What are the points of the videos that people go back to watch again? What are people commenting about? And yes, Noah, that was your can of beans. I need to go to the grocery store tomorrow anyway, and so I will get you another can of beans. You weren't really using it, so I don't think it matters. So with all that being said, you can test things for yourself, not just with your food, but just in your daily life. Maybe things at work need some improvement. And many things are out of your control, which is why it's frustrating, but certain things are in your control. So take the small victories and try to learn from them. Maybe you like reading. I like reading. What I found is, I read a lot of nonfiction. What I found is a lot of those nonfiction books really say the same thing. Once you read about a dozen nonfiction books, you kind of realize that a lot of the topics that they discuss kind of overlap with each other. They're just kind of all recommending you do the exact same thing. So at that point, you know, how valuable, and these are all clean, how valuable are those nonfiction books really going to be if you're going to spend $15 on them and it just says the same thing as the last book? All right, I still enjoy reading, but I don't want to just read for the sake of reading. I don't want to read if it's just going to be the same thing as the last one. So test out different things, understand your limitations, understand what you're going to be able to be consistent with. And ultimately, if you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to be consistent with it. I don't understand people as, oh, you got to work through it, you got to power through it, you got to be motivated, or you got to do things even when you're not motivated. It's like, hey, look, it's not about motivation or like having strong will. Just if you don't like doing something, you're not going to do it. So either find a way to like what you're doing, or don't do it at all. Do something else. There's no shame in that. You don't have to like all the same things that other people do. And you can decide that you don't like the things that you are doing, even if you've tried them for a while. You know, I played sports in high school. Most of you know that. And I appreciate what parents did for their kids who started playing in sports. For me, it was football. People who started playing in sports and then got a couple of months into it and they said that they didn't like it anymore and that they wanted to quit. I appreciate the parents that told their kids that you committed to this, you started it, you're going to finish the season. And when you finish the season, then you can quit. Because they didn't want their kids to grow up being quitters, right? When things get hard, they don't want their kids growing up so when things get hard that they don't try it anymore. They wanted their kids to be resilient. And that's why I appreciate what those parents intended. With that being said, just to be a little bit harsh, I didn't enjoy playing football with those kids. And frankly, none of those kids were starting anyway. Those kids were backups. Those kids were third string. Those kids were fourth string. Those kids were on JV when they should have been on varsity. They didn't contribute. And it's not because those kids were bad kids. It's because they didn't want to be there. There's nothing wrong with if you don't want to be somewhere, you can just go do something else. Now, I'm not a parent myself, so maybe that's short-sighted. A lot of people who are watching this channel are parents, and if you have the strategy of having your kid finish something, I'm not saying any of that did to me. Speaking solely from the perspective of me being another kid out there. I mean, one of my best friends, even to this day, was one of those kids. One of those kids who didn't want to be there, but parents told him he had to finish out the year. And he did. And he's one of my best friends today because he's really mature. He was a grade younger than me. He has a lot of maturity, and he's frankly just a fun guy to be around. You know, sports is not everything. I don't play it anymore. But at the time, gosh, it was so strange seeing somebody that you knew didn't want to be there, forcing themselves to do things that they didn't want to do. There's no harm in doing something else. I'm not a parent myself, but if I had to suggest a different strategy, because you don't want your kid to be lazy, you don't want your kid to give up on things, it would be if you do it for a while, and you discover that that's not something that you're interested in, it's not something you enjoy, you don't want to do it anymore, instead of doing something that you don't want to do for the rest of the year, why don't supplement that for something else? Why not? Sure, you can quit playing football, but you're going to need to, over the time that you were spending playing football, the practices, the gym workouts, you know, the games, all of that, you're going to have to supplement that time with something else that you think is equally productive. Maybe it's music, maybe it's chess club, maybe it's a different sport. Maybe it is video games, you know? It's like a lot of kids in high school play video games. Like maybe it is video games. We had a couple of kids in high school that went on to kind of play like at a college or pro level for video games. It's kind of weird that that's even a thing. But they did. They were good at video games and they went on to kind of have video game careers. Sure, maybe that is something they should do. But regardless, try to supplement things that you have decided you are no longer interested in with things that you would be interested in. And even if you go 5, 6, 7, 8, 3-month stints in a row of doing things that you aren't interested in, you're getting a lot of exposure to things that you are going to be interested in. So I don't think there's any shame in doing something for 3 months and then realizing that's not a good path for you to go down anymore. As long as you're not giving up and you're supplementing it with something else, then all for you. So anyway, that's kind of a long-winded tangent. To take it to something a little bit more practical to this channel, that's what I did with food. I did carnivore for 3 months. Did it for 3 months, I had good results, it was a positive experience for me, and then I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to do it because of the cost, I didn't want to do it because of the limited diet, I didn't want to do it because of how difficult it was to be out in public with other people, in public events and public settings, and only eat meat. The amount of conversations that I've had, even at like a Texas Roadhouse, which is basically just a steakhouse. It's a steakhouse. And going there and being like, yeah, can you just bring the steak out? Can you not bring the mashed potatoes and the carrots and the steamed broccoli and the garlic bread and things like that? I'm just not going to eat any of those things. I'm on a diet. I'm only going to eat the meat. And they go, well, you're paying for the meat. I go, I mean, can I supplement? Maybe can I just get a side of ribs or something instead of a side of cornbread? I'm sure cornbread's great, but maybe can I just do something different? No, we don't allow substitutes. We don't allow anything like that. It's okay, well, I'll pay for the full meal with all of the stuff. I don't care. I'll pay for everything. I'm not gonna be stingy about that. I'll pay for everything. But I'm just telling you right now, all of the stuff that you bring out to me that's not meat, I'm not going to eat because that's not my diet. And they just didn't understand it. And why would they? Right? Why would they understand something like that? And sure enough, they'd bring all the food out. Say, never mind. Sorry I asked anything. Yeah, I'll have this with, what sides do you want? Okay, with these sides. And they bring it out and I eat just the meat and not any of the sides. And they're like, hey, you didn't eat any of your sides. It's hey, we told you I wasn't going to eat sides. And then you're there with your friends, and then they have tons of questions. So why do you only eat meat? Why don't you eat the sides? What things like that? It's look, I'm just being a burden on these people. I'm just being a burden on these people. I've accomplished my goals. I don't have a good strategy in order to communicate in this way, and I've tried to develop one for 3 months and it's not working. I don't want to do it anymore. And so I did. I stopped eating carnivore in large part because of the difficulty of being around people socially like that. And again, I travel for work. I work in sales. So going up to a client and going out to eat with a client and having an issue like that in front of a client will jeopardize my actual financial security. I just can't do that. Not something that works out. So I made adjustments, and that's led me to where I'm at today, where I make this kind of mash. I think going without the eggs is a big mistake. I think having the eggs in my diet is a huge benefit to me. I think having the onions in my diet is a huge benefit to me. And I think missing out on the calories is a huge detriment, which is why we have the rice, although I'd prefer to go without rice. And anyway, I've implemented these strategies, and I'll continue to implement strategies like this well into the future. And who knows, as this channel progresses and we continue to upload 5 videos a week, 2 years from now I might be eating something completely different. But it's like, I don't know if you've seen the videos online of like AI, and they'll upload a photo of like The Rock, right? You know what The Rock looks like. And they'll have a prompt and they say, hey, make 100 duplicates of this photo, regenerate this photo, and make sure it's generated exactly the same as how the original photo was presented to you. And then they show the progression of 100 changes in the photo, and by the time you get to the 100th one, it's completely unrecognizable. You have no idea what it is. That might be what our own diet looks like a couple of years from now as this channel progresses. Now, my hope, difference with the AI photos, is that the changes get progressively worse. No change ever gets better. I want my changes to get better. So that is my hope, that we start implementing changes that get progressively better as we go on. It might even be, we might even use more than one pan when we cook, because as of right now, I just consistently cook with one pan. We might even use multiple pans. Who would have thought? So we're about wrapping up here. As soon as I get this egg nice and thoroughly cooked through, we will be done. I'm just going to put this in a bowl and eat it as it is. But actually, no, I will keep the lid off because I saw that condensation. I want this to be not dry, but just not so. I don't want there to be any liquid at the bottom of the bowl. And the only thing that I change from this when I go and I work my graveyard shift is I go to bed right at 5 o'clock. I usually film between like 5 and 6. I go to bed right at 5 o'clock. I don't film. I wrap all of this stuff up into a burrito, and I bring it to myself at work. And when I work my 11 to 7, I eat my big, massive 2-pound burrito. It's like a pound and two 1.5-pound burritos. They don't make tortillas big enough to put all this in there. And I have that overnight. And then I get home, and then I work my work from home sales shop while I do that. So it's just, even when I started working the graveyard shift, adjustments needed to be made while still maintaining a similar system to what I have set out now. So let's get to the most interesting part of the video. Enough of me yapping. I only yap just to keep you entertained while I'm in the middle of my cooking process. This is the most important part of the video, is the weighing. We want to see how heavy our meal is, because it's always around 2,000 calories, but give or take a couple hundred calories, but it's not always the same weight. But if I'm going to claim that this is enough to feed a family of 3, I'm going to prove it to you with measurements. So let's get all of this put off to the side here. This took a little bit longer to cook than it usually does. I'm just taking a look at the time spent on my GoPro while I'm filming. And this took a little bit longer than I expected. Oh, what's going on there? Let's just put the pan in here. Grab our scale here. Move this to pounds. If you live in a country other than America that uses normal measurements and you don't use bald eagles to cheeseburger measurements like we do, please make your adjustments on your own time. I'll do the weighing right here, and we got this coming out to 2.43 pounds. Like I said, usually about 2.5 pounds. If I add sriracha to the top of this, which I will after this video, we'll get pretty close to that 2.5 pound range. So, with the steam coming up into us, into the camera, I appreciate all of you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and I will be back with you later. Goodbye.